If you hear screaming or a baby crying coming from the woods, whatever you do, don't follow it. That's what they first told me when I moved to a rural town about 2 years ago, and I probably retold it a dozen times to people who have visited me since. I'm finally turning to Reddit to tell of my experiences and see if any of you had some similar to mine. It's not just crying though. It also involves voices that call you by name, asking you to come to them. As of now, I'm not too scared to hear random crying or voices coming from the mountains, mainly because I've heard them so many times. There are certain sounds, however, that come from the wilderness that scare me to death, because they usually signal of something bad about to happen. Such as this one time where we heard a sound louder than usual. Chilled crying mixed with screams randomly throughout the day, and at that same night, there were 2 goats on one of the farms that were found mutilated and torn to pieces at the edge of the woods. There were separate occasions of this same sounding cry, and similar things have occurred. There are only about 10 families that live in this area, and they are a tight-knit community. So when I first moved in 2 years ago, they tended not to like me but have grown to accept me. They mainly don't like new people moving into the area or tourists stopping by, because that causes the crying from the woods to grow louder, or the tourists end up going missing because they didn't listen to us when we told them to not follow the sounds. We rarely get tourists now, compared to when I first moved here, and since so many people have gone missing in the past, the government has blocked off the forest with a large fence about a year ago. It's still public land that you can go into, but they put up the fence to try and dissuade people from doing so. Search and Rescue has also put up warning signs saying, "Dangerous, enter at your own risk." They never specified why, and I'm never going to tell you guys where my town is located, because I know people are gonna be stupid enough to try and test this story out. I'm posting these stories on Reddit because I want to see if anyone else out there is experiencing the same thing where they live, or is it just exclusive to my town? The first week I moved into this area was probably one of the scariest experiences of my life, because I wasn't used to the random crying that came from the forest. When I heard a baby crying out in the woods on the second day when I was loading furniture into my new house, I didn't know what to think. It was the first time I had ever experienced it, and the people in town already had told me to not follow it and to just ignore them. When they first told me, I was in disbelief of this and probably thought that it was how the wind brushed through the trees or something like that. So when I heard the crying of a newborn that sounded so realistic to even the sounds of it breathing between whines could be heard echoing from the woods, I had no idea what I should do. My natural instincts were to go see what was wrong and if there was a way I could help. But what if what the people in town were saying was right, and that I should never follow it? I decided that I wasn't going to follow it too far, just hoping that I would be able to see whatever it was making the noise. I started walking towards the trees and got close to the tree line. As I did, a hand reached out and grabbed my arm firmly. It was one of the neighbors that was helping me move all of my things in, and I'll say his name is Manuel to keep his identity safe. He then told me, "I knew you were going to try that at one point. What if there's someone over there that needs our help?" I asked as I pulled my arm out of his grasp. "Look here. No one in this town knows what makes those sounds, and everyone that finds out dies. Don't go over there. Simple as that." He replied as he tapped me on the shoulder and then continued to carry boxes into my house. I tried to ask him more questions about it, but he was always hesitant to talk about it and avoided the conversation the best he could. He finally got annoyed by my constant pestering that he responded saying, "I've told you everything you need to know about those sounds. Whatever or wherever they come from can hear what we are saying, and supposedly if you think or talk about it too much, you'll be driven mad as it allows it to access your thoughts." I stopped asking him questions after that, and we now get along great together. The main thing that I got from what he said was that as long as you follow the main rule of not following them, you'll be fine. There are rare occasions, however, like with the goats that have died, where the thing comes out of the forest. Very few while I've lived here have gone missing, but I've heard of the many stories from townspeople of hikers who never come back, and even people from search and rescue that have gone missing. It makes sense why the Forest Service put up the sign saying "Dangerous, enter at your own risk" on the fence. Because how are you supposed to try and find someone out there when there is a random crying, and even voices calling us by name from the woods? I have a particular story that comes to the closest thing to describing whatever is out there, and it came from someone from search and rescue that made it out. It's the closest thing we have to a description of what it looks like, but I'll save that for another time. Due to that, I don't want to have my thoughts be thinking about that thing for an extended period of time. And you know why. I will finish this requesting that if you ever do hear people calling you from the woods, or a baby crying, even if they sound like family, don't follow them. Always be aware of people that are around you, because the thing in the woods making the sounds is often known to imitate the same voices of loved ones. I will say it one more time to ingrain it into your skull. Just ignore them and act like nothing is wrong. And whatever you do, don't go into those woods.